What's up guys, it's Jeff Chan from MMA Shredded and I'm back with another striking tutorial. In today's video, I will be showing you 5 Muay Thai kick caught counter techniques. I believe each technique should be used depending on how your kick is thrown, but also how your opponent catches it. For example, it can depend on if you're kicking with your mid to upper shin area or your instep to lower shin area, which will most likely determine where your opponent ends up catching your leg. The first kick caught counter technique is used when your opponent catches your mid to upper shin. Once they catch that area of your shin, it is likely that they have a strong, tight grip on your leg. From here, you want to push off of your standing leg, jump into the air as you bend your kicking leg, driving your shin across your opponent's body to close that distance and collar tying with the same side arm. As you jump, you want to tuck your standing leg heel to your rear end to evade the sweep. When your opponent uses all that energy to sweep you and misses, all your weight in the air comes crashing down onto their one leg, usually causing them to break their posture and to just let go of your caught leg, instead of trying to waste more energy trying to sweep again. I would say the most important detail is driving your shin across the body to close the distance so you can hang onto your opponent's neck, which puts a lot of weight on them, breaking their posture and preventing them from performing a clean and powerful sweep. Now once you get that shin across the body, you're able to grab a hold of the neck. You now want to create distance by extending your hips forward, pushing the wall you've created with your shin into your opponent's body. You can see that even though I mistimed my jump against his sweep here, my shin created enough space between me and my opponent that his kicking leg was a tad too far to have any leverage to successfully sweep me. If your opponent does not let go of your caught leg at this point, use your other arm to hand trap your opponent's free arm and pull yourself into them as you continue extending your shin and hips forward. At this point, it is very likely your opponent will just let go because they are drained from carrying all of your weight. You can see that in a rare situation where your opponent does try to hold onto your leg, their posture is completely broken and they will try to disengage, which I love to follow up with a high kick. Of course, all this is easier said than done. Here are several failed attempts. You can see that if I am unable to drive my shin horizontally across the belly, I will usually get swept. Now you'll see that even if my opponent doesn't try to sweep me, I will still keep jumping into the air to close that distance to drive my shin across the belly and collar tie. Once I am able to drive my shin horizontally across the body, I feel pretty confident I can escape. You can also see that I continuously jump in anticipation of the sweep that can still come, but also to keep my opponent carrying my weight, tiring them out and causing them to just let go. You'll see the rare times where they will not let go and lift me right up into the air, but then they feel even more of my weight and eventually let go. Now, if you guys are interested in learning how to fight or spar just like me, but can't find the time or opportunity to come train with me in person, I highly recommend you check out my 50 heavy bag technique and conditioning program, where I teach my full striking system through 50 different heavy bag workouts. It focuses on developing technique, power, cardio, balance, rhythm, flow, and fluidity in your striking. You'll be learning more than just offensive combinations, but footwork, head movement, counters, fakes, feints, setups, and more. For more information, check out the link in the description box below. The second kick caught counter technique is when your opponent catches really low on your shin or catches your ankle. If they end up catching your ankle or that low on your shin, it means your opponent has less of a hold of your leg, which means you would be able to turn your shin, in this case clockwise, so that your shin is diagonally 45 degrees upwards. By churning this much, your heel ends up stepping on your opponent's hips, which allows you to teep and kick your leg free. Sometimes it just takes one push kick, and sometimes it takes multiple teeps to free your leg. And kick caught counter technique 3 is very similar to technique 2, except you're going to keep your toes pointing downwards. like you are pointing your toes down when doing ballet. If you anticipate or see your opponent catching your kick early, you can actually turn your shin and pull your leg out before they even tighten up the catch. But again, important detail is to point your toes down to make your weapon skinnier, smaller, and slippier to wiggle free. This is also how I like to kick in general. By pointing the toes down and kicking with your instep or lower shin, your kick is much longer. Whereas if you flex your toes upwards, you are looking to kick with pure shin, causing more damage, but you are closer to your opponent, which will allow them to get a good hold of your leg, and you will want to use kick caught counter technique 1 to escape. The fourth kick caught counter technique is re-kicking with your shin. After your opponent catches your kick, the recoil from your kick will turn your shin vertical. And instead of turning your foot clockwise and stepping on the hip, another option is to re-kick by re-driving your shin across your opponent's body and use your hips to push your shin off of the body to try to free your leg. Make sure you point your toes downwards on this one as well. You really want to turn your hips over to the opposite side on this, like you would in a full Muay Thai roundhouse kick. You should also be kicking with your instep to lower shin when using this kick caught counter, which also means your opponent is most likely catching that instep to lower shin area as well. You want to use your foot to essentially whip or flick off of your opponent's body to free your ankle or foot. Make sure you are pointing your toes down. Again, you want to make your weapon smaller, skinnier, and slipperier. You can imagine if your opponent caught your upper shin, this technique would not work very well. And finally, the fifth kick caught counter technique is staying balanced and retracting your kicking leg back in a stance so that you can properly defend your opponent's counterpunch or kick. We usually know to expect an incoming punch or kick when your opponent brushes your kick, overcatches from too far away where only their wrist is carrying your heel, or if your opponent catches tightly but clears the leg by shooting their hips back and dropping their kicking leg heel onto their palm. Most likely they will be throwing your leg to try to spin you, followed by punching or kicking, or punching into a kick combination. In this example, I parried and retracted my kicking leg into a check. More commonly, your opponent will throw that right kick in which I retracted my kicking leg and into a cross check. Here, I retracted my kicking leg back in a stance so that I was ready to catch his kick and into my body cross counter. And here, I caught his kick and into a sweep. And in these final examples, I used head movement to dodge the counterattacks. The options are endless. This obviously helps if you have the flexibility and mobility to stay calm in the situation, but if you feel off balance when your kick is caught, you want to look to use techniques 1 to 3 immediately. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As usual, if you like this video, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, as well as turn on that notification button.